All right, y'all. Welcome back to Sandra Unveiled. Let's talk about it. This is episode 2. Where we left off was me letting you guys know we arrived in Oregon. So after my adoption, we arrived in Oregon, Canby, Oregon. And like I was saying, it is not highly populated in people of color at all. So it was definitely a culture shock to go from being around tons of Black people in Stockton, California, to coming to Oregon, where Oregon as a whole is not highly populated in Black people, but specifically can be. It was like us. It was the few Black people that was in my family. But anyways, we get to Oregon and they show us our rooms. I'm really excited to get to know the new members of my new family and for my sister and I to just bond and feel like we belong somewhere, because for so many years prior, we never felt like we belonged anywhere. It was nice to have that hope that, wow, finally somebody wanted us. Like, we wanted a family. Finally, it felt like a family wanted us and the feelings were reciprocated. So it was nice to feel like we found our forever home. I was excited to have a mom for the first time. Like, one mom that I could call mom and who would treat me like their daughter, love me like their child, protect me from harm. I was really, really hopeful and excited to have both parents, not just a mom, but a dad too. I feel like my mommy wound is a lot deeper than my daddy issues or whatever, but definitely have both. I was just really looking forward to, and I had a lot of hope to what us being new members of this family would be and look like. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way that I'd hoped. Let's start with my adopted mom. Love her down. She was a beautiful woman, inside and out, truly. Her heart was beautiful. Her soul felt beautiful. She was kind. She was stern, and she didn't play. But it was all for the greater good. All the things that she tried to protect us from and steer us in the right direction as we got, into young ladyhood. I feel like back then I hated it. I thought she was just so strict, and I was like, oh my God, she doesn't let us wear nail polish. We can't wear lip gloss with all the other little girls. We weren't allowed to wear certain colors, like red was too grown, or wearing our hair all the way down and out of a ponytail, it was too grown. I don't know if that was more of a religious thing or if it was just a personal belief that they had as a couple for their children. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff we was not allowed to do, child. Like, we weren't allowed to listen to hip hop music or rap back then. It sucked because we didn't know the songs the other kids were playing on their little Walkmans. We didn't know the music that kids were listening to off of Z100 because we just weren't allowed to listen to that stuff. We listened to late 90s and early 2000s country music. That's what we grew up on. But like I said, I had a lot of hope for what this would be as a family unit, and it just didn't turn out that way. The mom was loving. Now, the dad I had, my adopted dad, well, remember we're calling him dad too. He was very strict, but not in the way of like, let me teach you something for a positive outcome. It was more in the way of control and possession. He was not the most loving dad, if you ask me, from my perspective and my point of view. His form of strictness was all about control. All about control. We were there for not even a week, and that was the first time he put his hands on my sister and I. I don't remember exactly what happened. I don't know, maybe we said something we weren't supposed to say. I don't know what it was, because he was just that kind of man that reacted off of anything. My dad could have a bad day at work, come home and take it out on us because he just wasn't a happy man. So This particular time, I don't know why he did it, but a week into being there, he physically assaulted us. I respect that some people believe whooping their child to a certain degree is useful. Everybody has their own parenting style. I don't judge. I've tried all types of different things as a mother to discipline my children. So, like I said, I don't judge. There's a big difference between whooping your child and abusing your child. I very much need that to be recognized. That line was crossed immediately when we were adopted. And it's not like we hadn't been hit before or abused in our previous placements. You know what I'm saying? We were in foster care. That wasn't new, but the way that he did things and worded things and enacted things were just not, they just felt so dark and not fatherly. First week we're there, he pulled that belt out and he beat the shit out of us with that belt. I just never understood why he was so violent. And he wouldn't only whoop us with the belt, like a normal whooping with the lower part of the belt. No, that man would take the buckle, the metal part of that belt where the buckle is. He would wrap that thing around his wrist and just wail. I remember one time, I remember we was getting whooped with that belt and he had my sister up by her arm like this. As she's trying to run away from him, he's taking that metal part of that belt and just whap, whap, whooping on her. As soon as he was done with her, he whooped my ass. And when I say he whooped us so bad that we could not sit on the toilet to use the restroom properly because there was welts, like belt welts, not only from the leather part of the belt, but from the buckle chunk welts all over that just hurt so fucking bad and they stung so bad. Ooh, I'm sorry for cussing. That we couldn't even sit down to use the restroom. Trying to take a bath or a shower after that, baby. The burning, the stinging from the soap and the warm water. Horrible. They were very old school. He also used to soap in our mouths. So if we spoke in a way that he felt was disrespectful or distasteful for our age, he would grab that bar of soap, make you go in the bathroom, bite on it, and he'd pull it out. And that just, ooh. I don't know if y'all have ever had soap in your mouth, but it's terrible. That orange soap, it burns your mouth. It feels so, anyways. What I do remember though is he never disciplined the children equally. My older adopted brothers, they also were disciplined physically. I watched my dad choke them, literally grab them by the throat and choke them. I watched him try to whoop on them with the belt as well, even though they were like teenagers. Um, I've seen him shove them into walls, into doors, yoke them up by their clothing onto a wall or in the hallway, screaming, cursing them out, all types of ways. I'm not really sure what brought this about. I don't know why he was such a physical disciplinary parent, but that was his first go-to, was to be physical. My adopted dad definitely treated his biological child differently, the daughter, differently than he treated not only the two older boys that were by his wife from different arrangements, but also the way that he treated the adopted children. He treated all four of us a lot different than his biological daughter got treated. There was a lot of things that she would get away with that, honestly, I'm grown now, who gonna whoop me? But as a child, I would do purposefully to see, like, to try to validate myself that I wasn't crazy and that this man was treating us differently as kids. So sometimes I would see her do something that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would get nervous and scared that she was gonna get a whooping or a beating. And I would tell my biological sister, I'd be like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get in trouble, she's gonna get hit. And I mean, she might have got screamed at or yelled at, but I think it was because her mom was very protective of her in that sense. She definitely did all that she could to make sure the biological child was not physically harmed by her dad. I think my adopted mom knew that he was a violent man and that he was a dictator. And she did her best to protect her children from him. But I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? I would purposefully try to do what my sister did, their biological child, and I would get my ass beat. I would get my ass beat. And I couldn't process back then as to why. Like, what is the difference? Like, she literally did to a T this thing. I saw it from her. So I'm going to go do it, or I'm going to go say it and see if I get the same grace, same pass. No, no, we never did. Me and my biological sister never got the same grace as they provided to their biological children. And I can't tell their stories because I don't know firsthand their perspective, their stories. But from my witnessing of being a part of the family and in the home, even the boys got the bruntness of my adopted dad. His daughter was his little princess, as she should be. That's his child, his only child at that point, his only biological child. So I see why he gave her special treatment. Not to say that she was never harmed in the long run, but just saying, for these early stages, she definitely was held on a pedestal and treated differently. And there was things that she could get away with that we couldn't. And my dad liked to do things, not only whip us with the metal parts of the belts, the buckles of the belts, but he would make us go get a switch off the tree out in the back. I remember one time he took a ruler and he beat my hands because I stole something. Like first or second grade, I was like 6 or 7. I had taken something from the book fair. My sister, that's the biological child, she had asked for some money for the book fair because she wanted to buy some stuff. And they gave her some money to go buy like gel pens and a yo-yo and stuff like that from the book fair. And I wanted a yo-yo. I wanted some gel pens. So I asked the next day, I said, can I get a couple dollars so I can get something at the book fair? And I was instantly told no. No. I was looked at crazy too, and then told no. Like, no, like, why would you even ask that? And it hurt so bad. It hurt my feelings so bad because I was like, this is supposed to be my new family. These are supposed to be my new parents. And I saw you give it to her as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. I'm like, my sister got it. Why can't I? Like, why does she get to do it? So I went to school the next day and I stole some gel pens and a yo-yo and a bookmark. I don't know, a couple of things from the book fair. I didn't even take them home. I put them in my desk at school, but then the teacher found them in my desk, and obviously I didn't pay for them. So they called my parents, my adopted parents, and when I got home, baby, he beat the hell out of my hands with a ruler. He did cite the Bible, something about like those who steal shall have their hands cut off, and those who lie should have their tongue cut from their mouths, and something about having their eyes plucked from their head. Like I said, I'm 6 or 7 at the time. And these are things that he would use, like tactics he would use to scare the shit out of us or to scare us straight into behaving. Another one of his tactics, mind you, 6 or 7, me. I was a very tiny child, very slim, very petite. My little arms were so tiny. I remember he made me stand in the corner, nose to the corner, made me stand with my arms at like 90-degree angles, like this, and hold big, thick ass dictionaries and phone books. Back in the day, they would drop phone books on your front porch. He would have me and my sister hold these up, stand in the corner on the wall I'm not talking like he would be like, oh, 10 minutes, stand there with the books for 10 minutes. No. He would be like, stand there for 30 minutes to an hour. And anytime you would drop, like our arms would start, because hello, we're children. These books is heavy as hell, like a quarter of my weight. Every time we would drop our arms, he would slap it with the ruler. He would make us stand there and hold them damn books for 30 minutes to an hour. Arms shaking in pain, okay? He didn't give a damn. Punishments were so weird, like so, I don't know, ancient to me. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like something crazy out of a movie. It just didn't seem rational. And I know everybody has their own degrees of abuse and discipline from their parents. So some people might have gotten it worse. That's your business. I mean, anything really. Like, we got disciplined with anything. So that was really hard to process at that age. I really didn't process it. It was just kind of something I ended up accepting because I just didn't understand. We were so happy and hopeful about coming to this family for safety, love, and unity. And it didn't end up that way. So continuing trauma dumping, let's fast forward. 3 years into my adoption, I'm now 9. We are moving from Canby, Oregon out to Aurora, Oregon. And there was this house that we moved out to, this house that my adopted mom loved. It was like her dream home, literally. We moved out there. She was so happy. She was so happy to get her house, her dream home, and her land, and to have her family out there, all of us together. She definitely struggled with her self image. She was a bit of a heavier set woman. Again, like I said, beautiful. When I was a child at the time, 9, something made her want to change her image. She wanted to get gastric bypass surgery to lose weight. And I remember when that conversation first was presented to us, they sat us down as a family at the house in Aurora, and they pretty much told us, like, our mom said she's going to have the surgery. She feels like losing the weight would not only make her healthier, but also more confident and happier. Me and my sisters being young, what are we going to say? We did let her know that it was scary to us. She was transparent and she let us know the risk, that the surgery is not 100%. People don't always come out of the surgery healthy, and sometimes things go wrong with that surgery. She was honest about that. It was scary to hear and to think about that she wanted to alter her image, so much so that she was willing to go through such a risky surgery at that time, mind you, at that time, right? This is literally like the beginning of the 2000s, 2002. And the surgery was just so risky. She was set on what she wanted to do, which I always respected. She knew what she wanted. She goes in to have surgery to do the gastric bypass. She ends up getting an infection throughout her body. Whatever happened, they butched the surgery. We were children at the time, so I don't know the complete details. Something went wrong, and she ended up getting really sick. She never came home from the hospital. It changed her. We went in to go see her for Easter, I believe it was, because we brought her stuffed animals, like bunnies and, eggs and what have you. We brought her stuff for the holiday. And when we went in, she didn't look like herself. She didn't act like herself. And she had been my mom at that point for 3 years, and I couldn't recognize her. She didn't come home. She ended up passing away. I remember being at the Aurora house. When we got the news that my adopted mom died, the sickness that she got from the surgery killed her. April 9th. My second child, her birthday is April 9th. Okay. She passed on April 9th. I remember my dad getting that phone call. We lost our mom. And I can't speak for everybody else because this is my story from my perspective. For me, when he sat us down in the living room and told us that, I remember not crying right away. I remember I may have like weeped a little bit, like a little cry, but I didn't like full blown go into hysteria or sobbing tears right away. I believe it was like 2 weeks. I didn't react emotionally to the news of her passing. 2 weeks later, I had my little cousins over and my aunt and my uncle, my adopted mom's side of the family. And something my little cousin did, I don't know, just triggered me and made me upset or something. I'm 9 and I just lost it. I started yelling and screaming at him, and I stormed up the stairs up to my room and I wept. I cried so hard. And his mom, my aunt, ended up coming up the stairs to check on me. And she was like, "What was all of that about?" I could not believe that my mom died. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, and not to take away what she meant to everybody else. Again, this is my story, my perspective, my feelings, my traumas. Imagine being 9, right? And you finally got a mom. You finally got a mom who adopted you 3 years prior. You finally got what you feel like might be your forever family. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect family, but what is? And you find out that your only mom, the only person you've had, play the role mom to you, has died. She's been taken away from you because of malpractice. Doctors not knowing how to do their fucking job. And now you're left without a mom. Again. I went up the stairs and I just wept. And my aunt came up and she asked me what was wrong, and I told her I miss my mom. Sorry, I'm really trying. My content is hard because it's raw, and I'm also trying to show transparency without snot and tears. So, anyway, I was expressing to my aunt, I don't understand why this was happening to me. I couldn't understand why it was happening to me. My first shot at having a mom, and she was taken. And my aunt was kind. She didn't get me in trouble for yelling at her son. She just let me scream and yell and cry. And grieve. I had already gone through so much trauma prior to my adoption, and the one person that I felt like was a safe person, excuse me, in a safe space was taken. The one person that protected us from our dad's abuse, he was already abusive while she was alive, but after she died, it just got so much worse. After she passed, it got so much worse. And quickly after that, my adopted dad fell deep into alcoholism and drugs. The alcoholism became first. He was kind of already an alcoholic, I'm not gonna lie. We noticed that in the early years of us being adopted, but when his wife died, I don't think he knew how to grieve. Um, all hell broke loose. Yeah, all hell broke loose after that.